Have you ever paused, just for a moment, to wonder about the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of our understanding? What secrets are hidden in the stories of old, in the ancient battles between light and darkness, in the whispers of angels, and the cries of fallen heroes? What truly happened before the first breath of humanity, before the world as we know it began to turn? If you have ever found yourself pondering the enigmas of heaven, the invisible wars waged in the spiritual realm, or the profound events that shaped the destiny of mankind, you are not alone. You are part of a chosen generation, seekers of truth, who refuse to settle for surface answers. If this resonates with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to the Jesus Speaks channel, and comment 777 below. Your voice, your curiosity, and your hunger for deeper understanding are the heartbeat of this community. Let us begin our journey with calm reflection, allowing the story to unfold gently, like the dawn breaking over a silent landscape. We are about to immerse ourselves in the life of Samson, the strongest man in the Bible, whose tale is not merely one of physical might, but of vulnerability, trust, and the consequences of choices made in the shadows. This is not just a recounting of ancient events. It is an invitation to explore the depths of the human soul, to wrestle with questions that have echoed through the ages. Samson's story does not begin with his own birth, but with the silent prayers and aching hearts of his parents, Manoah and his wife. In a time when childlessness was seen as a curse, their longing for a child was both a personal sorrow and a public shame. Theirs was a world where every hope seemed to end in silence, every prayer unanswered. Yet, in the stillness, the extraordinary happened. An angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife, bringing a message that would change not only their lives, but the fate of a nation. She, who had been barren, would bear a sooner child set apart from the very moment of conception, destined to be a Nazarite, consecrated to God. This child, Samson, was not merely a gift to his parents, but a promise to Israel. He was chosen to deliver his people from the oppression of the Philistines, who held Israel in a grip of fear and subjugation. The instructions given to his mother were precise. She was to avoid wine and anything unclean, for her son was to be holy, set apart for a divine purpose. Most significant of all, his hair was never to be cut, for it was the symbol of his covenant with God. The secret to his supernatural strength. As Samson grew, he was keenly aware of his unique calling. Unlike other children, his life was not his own. He was a living symbol of God's promise, a vessel through which divine power would flow. Yet, even as he embraced his destiny, the seeds of struggle were sown. For all his strength, Samson was still human, subject to the same desires and weaknesses that beset us all. His journey would be marked by both triumph and failure, by moments of glory and lapses of judgment. The story of Samson is a mirror, reflecting the tension between divine calling and human frailty. It asks us to consider, what does it mean to be chosen? Can one who is set apart for greatness still fall prey to temptation? The psalmist writes, "What is man that you are mindful of him, the son of man that you care for him?" Psalm 8, banding 4. In Samson, we see both the heights of God's favor and the depths of human vulnerability. As we embark on this journey, let us do so with open hearts and minds, ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. The story of Samson is not just his story, it is ours. It is the story of every person who has ever struggled to reconcile the call of God with the pull of their own desires. It is a story of hope, of redemption, and of the possibility that even in our greatest failures, we can find the strength to rise again. So, if you have ever wondered about the mysteries of heaven, the battles fought in the unseen realms, or the true nature of strength and weakness, you are in the right place. Like, subscribe, and comment 777 below to join this journey. Together, we will seek the truth that lies beneath the surface, guided by the wisdom of Scripture and the light of faith. Let us begin, calmly and deliberately, to unravel the story of Samson, the strongest man in the Bible, and the lessons his life holds for us all. Have you ever wondered how a life set apart for greatness can be so deeply marked by struggle, contradiction, and longing? As we continue our journey into the story of Samson, let us slow our pace, breathe deeply, and allow the narrative to envelop us. The tale of Samson is not merely a chronicle of victories and defeats. It is a profound meditation on the tension between divine calling and human desire, between the sacred and the ordinary. Samson's early years were shaped by the weight of expectation. From the moment of his miraculous conception, He was destined to be different. His parents, Manoah and his wife, had received a message from the angel of the Lord, a message that their son would be a Nazirite, consecrated to God from birth. This vow was not a mere ritual. It was a lifelong covenant, a sacred agreement that would define every aspect of Samson's existence. He was to abstain from wine, avoid anything unclean, and, most notably, never cut his hair. Each strand was a living testament to his separation for God, a visible sign of his unique purpose. Yet, as Samson grew, the boundaries of his calling became both a source of strength and a burden. Imagine being a child, watching others play freely, while knowing that your life is not your own. The sense of being chosen can inspire awe, but it can also breed isolation. The Psalms echo this tension. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalms 139, 13-14. Samson's life was a living embodiment of this truth, fearfully and wonderfully made, yet set apart in ways that few could understand. As he entered adulthood, Samson's extraordinary strength became evident to all. He was a force of nature, capable of feats that defied explanation, but with great power came great temptation. The first cracks in his armor appeared not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments of personal choice. Samson's heart was drawn to a Philistine woman, a decision that troubled his parents deeply. They knew that such a union was outside the boundaries of God's plan for him. Yet Samson insisted, believing that this relationship was part of a greater purpose. This moment reveals a profound truth about the human condition. Even those chosen by God are not immune to the pull of desire. The Apostle Paul would later write, "For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing." Romans 7:19. Samson's struggle was not unique. It is the struggle of every soul who seeks to balance the call of the divine with the yearnings of the heart. Despite his impulsiveness, Samson's life was marked by moments of undeniable heroism. One of his most legendary acts was the slaying of a lion with his bare hands, a feat that would become a symbol of his supernatural strength. Yet, even in this victory, there was a subtle foreshadowing of future conflict. Later, Samson would return to the carcass of the lion and find a swarm of bees and honey inside. He scooped out the honey and ate it, sharing it with his parents, but not telling them where it came from. In doing so, he violated his Nazirite vow by touching something unclean. This seemingly small act was a sign of the internal battle raging within him, a battle between obedience and self-indulgence. Samson's story is a tapestry woven with threads of triumph and transgression. Each victory was accompanied by a test, each blessing by a temptation. The Philistines, recognizing the threat he posed, sought to undermine him at every turn. Yet time and again, Samson's strength prevailed. He tore apart enemies, broke free from bonds, and became a living legend among his people. But beneath the surface, the seeds of his downfall were being sown. The very gifts that set him apart, his strength, his charisma, his sense of destiny, also made him vulnerable. He began to believe in his own invincibility, to trust in his abilities rather than in the God who had given them. The prophet Jeremiah warns, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Jeremiah 17:9. Samson's heart, like ours, was a battleground of conflicting desires. As we reflect on this stage of Samson's journey, we are invited to consider the nature of true strength. Is it found in physical power, in the ability to conquer and destroy, or is it found in humility, in the willingness to submit to a higher purpose? The story of Samson challenges us to look beyond the surface, to recognize that the greatest battles are often fought within. In the quiet moments of our own lives, we too face choices that test our resolve. We are called to remember that being set apart does not guarantee immunity from struggle. Rather, it is in the struggle that our character is forged, our faith refined. The psalmist writes, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me, and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Psalm 139, 23-24. Samson's journey is an invitation to such self-examination, to a deeper understanding of what it means to be chosen. As we move forward, let us do so with a spirit of humility and openness. The story of Samson is not just a tale of ancient heroism. It is a mirror held up to our own souls. It reminds us that true greatness is not measured by outward achievements, but by the depth of our surrender to the divine. Like, subscribe, and stay with us as we continue to unravel the mysteries of strength, weakness, and the enduring power of faith. Have you ever found yourself standing at the crossroads of desire and destiny, feeling the pull of your own heart in one direction while the weight of your calling tugs you in another? As we continue to journey through the life of Samson, let us slow our steps and listen to the quiet tension that underlies every choice he makes. This is not just a story of a man with supernatural strength, but of a soul wrestling with the boundaries of freedom and the responsibilities of being chosen. Samson's life, from its miraculous beginning, was marked by a sense of being set apart. Yet, as he grew into adulthood, the boundaries of his calling became increasingly blurred. The world around him was filled with temptations, opportunities to indulge, to rebel, to test the limits of his strength and his favor with God. The Philistines, ever-present adversaries, were not just enemies on the battlefield. They represented the allure of a life unconstrained by the strictures of his Nazirite vow. It was in this context that Samson's heart was drawn to Delilah, a woman whose beauty and mystery captivated him. Delilah was not the first Philistine woman to catch Samson's eye, but she would be the last and most consequential. Their relationship was a dance of passion and peril, a union that seemed to defy the warnings of his upbringing and the wisdom of his parents. Yet, in Delilah, Samson saw not just a lover, but a confidant, someone who might understand the loneliness of being set apart. But love, as the ancient poets and prophets have long warned, is a double-edged sword. It can inspire acts of great courage, but it can also blind us to the dangers that lurk in the shadows. Delilah, for all her allure, was not simply a woman in love. She was a woman with her own ambitions, her own fears, and her own loyalties. The Philistine leaders, recognizing her influence over Samson, approached her with an offer she could not refuse: uncover the secret of his strength, and she would be rewarded beyond measure. Imagine the weight of this moment. Delilah, torn between affection and ambition, began to weave a web of questions and caresses, seeking to draw out the truth that Samson had guarded all his life. Each night, as they lay together, she pressed him for answers, her words soft but insistent. Samson, perhaps sensing the danger, responded with riddles and half-truths, testing her resolve even as he tested his own. The tension between them grew with each passing day. Delilah's persistence was matched only by Samson's reluctance to reveal his secret. Yet beneath the surface, a deeper struggle was unfolding, a struggle between trust and suspicion, between vulnerability and self-preservation. Samson, for all his strength, was growing weary. The burden of his calling, the isolation of his vow, and the relentless pressure from Delilah began to erode his defenses. In these moments, we are reminded of the ancient wisdom: above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Samson's heart, once steadfast in its devotion to God, was now divided. He longed for connection, for intimacy, for the simple comfort of being known and loved. But in seeking these things from Delilah, he risked everything that made him who he was. Delilah, sensing his vulnerability, intensified her efforts. She accused him of not loving her, of withholding the one thing that mattered most. Her words, laced with both tenderness and accusation, struck at the core of Samson's identity. He was a man who had always relied on his strength, but now he found himself powerless against the force of her will. Night after night, the cycle repeated: questions, denials, accusations, and reconciliations. Samson, exhausted by the emotional turmoil, began to let his guard down. The line between truth and deception grew thin, and the secret he had vowed to protect became a burden too heavy to bear. Finally, in a moment of weakness, Samson revealed the truth. He told Delilah that his strength was bound to his hair, the symbol of his covenant with God. In that confession, he surrendered not just his secret, but his very identity. Delilah, her mission complete, wasted no time. As Samson slept, she called for a man to shave his head, severing the last tie between him and the source of his strength. When Samson awoke, he was unaware of what had been lost. He rose, as he had so many times before, expecting to find his strength renewed, but the power that had once surged through his veins was gone. The Philistines, waiting in the shadows, seized him with ease. The man who had once been the terror of their armies was now a captive, blinded and bound, a trophy of their victory. In this moment, the story of Samson reaches its lowest point. The hero has fallen, not in battle, but in the quiet betrayal of trust, His strength, once the envy of nations, has been stripped away, leaving only the fragile shell of a man who had forgotten the true source of his power. Yet even in this darkness, there is a glimmer of hope. For as Samson is led away in chains, his hair begins to grow again. The covenant, though broken, is not beyond repair. The God who called him from birth has not abandoned him, even in his failure. As we reflect on this chapter of Samson's life, we are invited to consider the nature of trust, the dangers of misplaced affection, and the consequences of forgetting our true purpose. The story is a warning, but also a promise, that even in our greatest failures, the possibility of redemption remains. Let us move forward, slowly and thoughtfully, as we continue to unravel the mysteries of strength, weakness, and the enduring power of faith. If you find these reflections meaningful, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey, like Samson's, is one of discovery, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Have you ever felt the weight of regret pressing upon your heart, the kind that lingers long after the moment has passed? As we continue to journey through the story of Samson, let us pause and dwell in the silence that follows his greatest fall. The mighty hero, once celebrated for his strength and victories, now finds himself in the depths of humiliation and despair. The echoes of his past choices reverberate in the darkness of his captivity, and it is here, in this quiet valley of brokenness, that the true test of his spirit begins. Samson's world has been turned upside down. The man who once inspired fear in the hearts of his enemies is now a spectacle for their amusement. Blinded and bound, he is forced to labor at the mill, his hands pushing the heavy stone in endless circles, a cruel parody of the cycles of temptation and failure that marked his life. The Philistines, drunk on their triumph, parade him as a trophy, a living reminder of their victory over Israel's champion. Yet, in this place of utter defeat, something remarkable begins to happen. The scriptures tell us that as Samson toiled in darkness, his hair started to grow again. This detail, seemingly insignificant, is a profound symbol of hope and restoration. The hair that had been the outward sign of his covenant with God, once shorn in betrayal, now returns quietly, strand by strand. It is as if grace itself is at work, weaving a new beginning from the remnants of his shattered life. In the stillness of his captivity, Samson is left alone with his thoughts. The noise of battle, the adulation of the crowds, the seductive whispers of Delilah all had faded into memory. What remains is the raw, unvarnished truth of his existence. He is a man who has lost everything, yet is not beyond the reach of redemption. The Psalms speak to this moment. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. In his blindness, Samson begins to see more clearly than ever before. He recognizes that his strength was never truly his own, but a gift entrusted to him for a purpose greater than himself. This period of reflection is not merely a punishment, but a crucible, a place where pride is stripped away and the soul is laid bare. Samson's journey through suffering is a journey toward humility, a return to the source of his strength. He learns, as so many before and after him have learned, that true power is found not in self-reliance, but in surrender to the divine. Will the words of the prophet Isaiah ring true? But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. As the days pass, Samson's hair continues to grow, and with it, a quiet resolve takes root in his heart. He begins to understand that his failures, though devastating, do not define him. The God who called him from birth has not abandoned him, even in the darkness of his prison. There is a stirring within, a sense that his story is not yet finished. The possibility of redemption, once unthinkable, now glimmers on the horizon. Meanwhile, the Philistines remain oblivious to the transformation taking place in their captive. They see only a broken man, stripped of his power and dignity. Their celebrations grow ever more extravagant, culminating in a grand festival to honor their god, Dagon. The temple is filled with leaders and citizens, all eager to witness the humiliation of the once mighty Samson. They call for him to be brought out, to entertain them with the spectacle of his defeat. As Samson is led into the temple, guided by the hand of a young servant, he feels the weight of countless eyes upon him. The jeers and laughter of the crowd are a bitter reminder of how far he has fallen. Yet, beneath the surface, a quiet strength is building. Samson's heart is no longer consumed by pride or vengeance, but by a longing to fulfill the purpose for which he was created. He knows that this moment, painful as it is, may yet become the stage for his greatest act of faith. In the hush before the storm, Samson utters a prayer, not a demand for personal glory, but a humble plea for one last chance to serve the God who has never let him go. Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please God, strengthen me just once more. These words, spoken in weakness, are the truest expression of his strength. They are the words of a man who has come to the end of himself and found, in that ending, the beginning of something new. The story of Samson in captivity is a meditation on the nature of grace. It reminds us that no failure is final, that even in our darkest moments, the possibility of restoration remains. The journey from pride to humility, from self-reliance to surrender, is the journey of every soul that seeks to know the heart of God. In the quiet growth of Samson's hair, we see the quiet work of grace, patient, persistent, and always reaching for redemption. As we reflect on this chapter of Samson's life, let us consider our own moments of brokenness. Where have we fallen short? Where have we allowed pride or desire to lead us astray? And most importantly, where might grace be at work, quietly restoring what has been lost? The story invites us to trust that, even when all seems lost, the seeds of hope are already taking root. If you find these reflections meaningful, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey, like Samson's, is one of discovery, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Let us move forward together, slowly and thoughtfully, as we continue to unravel the mysteries of strength, weakness, and the enduring power of faith. Have you ever wondered what it means to find hope in the ruins, to sense the faintest glimmer of light when all seems lost? As we continue our journey through the story of Samson, let us move gently into the aftermath of his greatest defeat, where the echoes of brokenness mingle with the quiet stirrings of redemption. This is a moment not of triumph, but of profound transformation, a sacred pause in which the soul is stripped bare and the heart is invited to listen for the whisper of grace. Samson, once the mighty champion of Israel, now finds himself in the depths of humiliation, blinded, shackled, and forced to labor in the darkness of a Philistine prison. He is a shadow of the man he once was. The world that once celebrated his victories now mocks his downfall. Yet, in this place of utter desolation, something remarkable begins to unfold. The silence of his captivity becomes a crucible for reflection, a space where the noise of pride and ambition is replaced by the gentle voice of humility. It is here, in the quiet of his suffering, that Samson begins to understand the true nature of strength. No longer able to rely on his physical power, he is confronted with the reality that his might was never truly his own. The source of his strength was not in his hair, nor in his muscles, but in his relationship with the divine. Stripped of everything that once defined him, Samson is left with nothing but his faith, a faith that, though battered and bruised, is not extinguished. As the days pass, Samson's hair begins to grow again, each strand a silent testament to the possibility of restoration. This simple detail, so easily overlooked, is a profound symbol of hope. It is a reminder that even in our lowest moments, the seeds of renewal are already taking root. The covenant that was broken is not beyond repair. The grace that once empowered him is still at work, quietly, patiently, waiting for the moment when he is ready to receive it. In the darkness of his prison, Samson's thoughts turn inward. He remembers the days of his youth, the promise of his calling, the moments of victory and the sting of failure. He recalls the warnings of his parents, the vows he once held sacred, and the choices that led him to this place. Each memory is a thread in the tapestry of his life, woven together by the hand of a God who does not abandon his children, even when they stray. This period of reflection is not merely a time of regret, but a journey toward self-discovery. Samson begins to see that his greatest battles were not fought with the Philistines, but within his own heart. The true enemy was not the armies that opposed him, but the pride, impulsiveness, and desire that clouded his judgment. In the stillness, he learns that true strength is found not in self-reliance, but in surrender. It is in letting go of the illusion of control that he discovers the freedom to trust in something greater than himself. The Psalms speak to this moment. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Samson's heart, once hardened by pride, is now softened by suffering. He is no longer the invincible warrior, but a humble servant, ready to be used for a purpose beyond his own understanding. Meanwhile, The world outside his prison continues on, oblivious to the transformation taking place within. The Philistines, confident in their victory, prepare for a grand celebration in honor of their god, Dagon. They see Samson as nothing more than a trophy, a symbol of their triumph over Israel. Yet, they do not realize that the man they have broken is being remade, that the story they believe is finished is only entering its most profound chapter. As the day of the festival approaches, Samson is summoned to the temple to be paraded before the crowds as a spectacle of defeat. Led by the hand of a young servant, he enters the great hall, his eyes blind but his spirit awakened. The jeers and laughter of the crowd are a bitter reminder of his fall, but within him, a quiet resolve is taking shape. He knows that this moment, painful as it is, may yet become the stage for his greatest act of faith. On the hush before the storm, Samson utters a prayer not for vengeance, but for the strength to fulfill his purpose. Sovereign Lord, remember me, please God, strengthen me just once more. These words, spoken in humility, are the truest expression of his transformation. They are the plea of a man who has come to the end of himself and found, in that ending, the beginning of something new. This is the paradox at the heart of Samson's story, that true power is found in weakness, that the path to redemption often leads through the valley of brokenness. It is a lesson echoed throughout the scriptures, a reminder that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. In the ruins of his former glory, Samson discovers the hope that can only be found in surrender. As we reflect on this chapter of Samson's life, let us consider our own moments of brokenness. Where have we fallen short? Where have we allowed pride or desire to lead us astray? And most importantly, where might grace be at work, quietly restoring what has been lost? The story invites us to trust that, even when all seems lost, the seeds of hope are already taking root. If you find these reflections meaningful, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey, like Samson's, is one of discovery, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Let us move forward together, slowly and thoughtfully, as we continue to unravel the mysteries of strength, weakness, and the enduring power of faith. Have you ever considered how the echoes of our choices ripple through time, shaping destinies far beyond our own? As we continue to journey through the story of Samson, let us pause and reflect on the profound consequences of his actions, not only for himself, but for his people, his enemies, and even those who betrayed him. This is a moment to look beyond the surface, to see how the threads of fate, woven by both human hands and divine purpose, create a tapestry of redemption, sacrifice, and legacy. In the aftermath of Samson's final act, the dust settles over the ruins of the Philistine temple. The once mighty hero, who had been brought low by betrayal and pride, has now become the instrument of deliverance for Israel. His death, though tragic, marks the fulfillment of the purpose for which he was born. The Philistines, who reveled in his humiliation, are now themselves brought to ruin. The temple of Dagon, their symbol of power, lies in rubble, and with it, the pride of a nation that had oppressed Israel for generations. But what of those left behind? What of the Israelites who witnessed the rise and fall of their champion? For them, Samson's sacrifice is both a moment of liberation and a sobering reminder of the cost of deliverance. The brief respite from Philistine oppression that follows his death is not merely the result of a single act of strength, but the culmination of a life lived in the tension between calling and weakness, faith and failure. Samson's family, too, must grapple with the legacy he leaves behind. His parents, who once received the promise of an angel, now mourn the loss of their son. Yet, in their grief, there is also a sense of fulfillment, a recognition that despite his flaws, Samson accomplished what he was destined to do. His life, marked by both triumph and tragedy, becomes a testament to the mysterious ways in which God's purposes are worked out through imperfect vessels. And what of Delilah? Her fate is left unrecorded, but her role in the story lingers as a cautionary tale. She, who wielded the power of persuasion and manipulation, ultimately gained only fleeting rewards. The silver she received could not buy back the trust she betrayed, nor could it shield her from the consequences of her actions. Delilah's story is a mirror, reflecting the dangers of using others for personal gain, and the emptiness that follows when we trade integrity for advantage. As we reflect on these intertwined destinies, we are drawn to the deeper philosophical and spiritual questions that Samson's story raises. What does it mean to be chosen? Is greatness measured by outward achievements, or by the willingness to surrender to a higher purpose. The scriptures remind us that the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Samson's outward strength was legendary, but it was his inner journey from pride to humility, from self-reliance to surrender, that defined his true legacy. The story of Samson is not merely a tale of ancient heroism, it is a meditation on the human condition. We are all, in some way, caught between the pull of our desires and the call of our destiny. We all face moments when our choices carry consequences far beyond what we can see. The psalmist writes, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." In the life and death of Samson, we are invited to seek such wisdom to recognize the fleeting nature of strength, the enduring power of faith, and the possibility of redemption even in our darkest hours. As we move forward, let us do so with a spirit of contemplation and gratitude. The story of Samson challenges us to examine our own lives. Where have we allowed pride or desire to cloud our judgment? Where have we experienced the pain of betrayal or the weight of regret? And most importantly, where have we found hope in the midst of brokenness, the courage to rise again, and the grace to fulfill our purpose? If these reflections resonate with you, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey, like Samson's, is one of discovery, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Together, let us continue to seek the wisdom that lies beneath the surface, guided by the light of faith and the enduring promise of redemption. Have you ever paused to consider how the lessons of ancient stories echo through the corridors of your own life? As we continue our journey through the story of Samson, let us move gently into the realm of reflection, where the dust of battle has settled and the noise of triumph and tragedy has faded into a contemplative silence. This is the space where meaning is distilled, where the fragments of a life, its victories, its failures, its moments of surrender are gathered and examined. In the light of wisdom, Samson's journey, marked by extraordinary strength and profound weakness, is not merely a tale of the past. It is a living parable, a mirror held up to every soul who has ever wrestled with the tension between calling and desire, between the promise of greatness and the reality of human frailty. In the aftermath of his final sacrifice, we are invited to look beyond the ruins of the Philistine temple and into the deeper truths that his story reveals. One of the most enduring lessons from Samson's life is the paradox of strength and weakness. We are taught from an early age to admire power, to seek out the qualities that set us apart, to strive for achievements that will earn us recognition and respect. Yet, Samson's story turns this wisdom on its head. His greatest moment was not when he stood invincible before his enemies, but when he surrendered everything: his pride, his strength, even his life, in obedience to a purpose greater than himself. This paradox is echoed throughout the scriptures. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." In the end, it was not Samson's might that delivered Israel, but his willingness to be used by God, even in his brokenness. The lesson is clear. True strength is not found in self-reliance, but in the humility to recognize our dependence on something beyond ourselves. As we reflect on Samson's journey, we are also confronted with the reality of consequences. Every choice he made, each act of defiance, each moment of surrender carried ripples that extended far beyond his own life. His victories brought hope to his people, but his failures brought suffering and loss. The story does not shy away from the cost of disobedience, nor does it minimize the pain of regret. Yet, even in the midst of these consequences, there is a thread of redemption that runs through the narrative. Redemption, in Samson's story, is not a sudden reversal of fortune or a miraculous escape from suffering. It is a slow, patient worker process of restoration that begins in the heart long before it is seen in the world. As his hair grew back in the darkness of his prison, so too did his understanding of his true purpose. The journey from pride to humility, from self-will to surrender, is the journey of every soul that seeks to know the heart of God. This journey is not without its challenges. There are moments when the weight of failure seems too great to bear, when the silence of regret is deafening. Yet, it is in these moments that the seeds of hope are sown. The Psalms remind us, "The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Samson's story assures us that no failure is final, that even in our darkest hours, the possibility of restoration remains. As we contemplate the legacy of Samson, we are invited to ask ourselves difficult questions. Where have we relied on our own strength, only to find it insufficient? In what areas of our lives have we allowed pride or desire to cloud our judgment? How have our choices affected those around us, for better or for worse? Most importantly, where do we need to surrender, to let go of self-reliance and trust in a purpose greater than our own? These questions are not meant to condemn, but to awaken. They are an invitation to step into the light of self-examination, to seek the wisdom that comes from humility and the courage that comes from faith. The story of Samson is a reminder that our lives are not defined by our failures, but by our willingness to rise again, to seek forgiveness, and to embrace the possibility of redemption. It is a call to live with intention, to recognize the sacredness of our calling, and to trust that even in our weakness, we can be instruments of something far greater than ourselves. If these reflections resonate with you, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey, like Samson's, is one of discovery, growth, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Together, let us continue to seek the wisdom that lies beneath the surface, guided by the light of faith and the enduring promise of redemption. Have you ever wondered what it means to carry the lessons of an ancient story into the quiet moments of your own life? As we reach the final part of our journey with Samson, let us slow our pace and allow the echoes of his story to settle deep within us. This is not merely the end of a tale, but an invitation to contemplation, a gentle call to let the wisdom of the ages shape the way we see ourselves, our struggles, and our purpose. Samson's life, with all its triumphs and tragedies, does not conclude with the collapse of the Philistine temple. Instead, it lingers in the hearts of those who hear it, asking us to reflect on the meaning of strength, the cost of surrender, and the hope of redemption. His journey is a tapestry woven with threads of divine calling and human frailty, of victories won and lessons learned in the crucible of suffering. In the stillness that follows his final sacrifice, we are left with questions that reach beyond the boundaries of time and culture. What does it mean to be chosen for a purpose greater than ourselves? How do we respond when our own strength fails and we are left with nothing but faith? Can the mistakes of our past become the soil in which new hope grows? The story of Samson is not just about a man who was strong, but about a soul who learned through pain, loss, and humility that true power is found in surrender. His greatest victory was not in the battles he fought, but in the moment he let go of his own will and trusted in something greater. This is the paradox at the heart of faith, that in our weakness, we discover the possibility of transformation. As you reflect on Samson's journey, consider the quiet places in your own life where you have felt broken, lost, or alone. Perhaps you have known the sting of regret, the weight of failure, or the longing for a second chance. The story reminds us that no fall is final, that the seeds of redemption are sown in the soil of humility. Like Samson, we are invited to turn our hearts toward the source of true strength, not in ourselves, but in the one who calls us by name. The Psalms offer a gentle reassurance. He heals the broken-hearted and binds up their wounds. In the aftermath of defeat, in the silence of surrender, there is a promise of restoration. Samson's hair grew back, not just as a symbol of physical renewal, but as a sign that grace is always at work, quietly, patiently, waiting for us to open our hearts. As we close this chapter, let us carry forward the lessons of Samson's life. Strength is not measured by what we can accomplish on our own, but by our willingness to trust and obey. Failure is not the end, but an invitation to begin again, wiser and more compassionate. Redemption is possible for every soul, no matter how far we have wandered. If you have found meaning in this journey, I invite you to pause, breathe, and let these truths settle within you. Like and subscribe to the channel if you wish to continue exploring stories that challenge and inspire. Share your reflections in the comments below. Your voice is part of a community seeking wisdom, hope, and transformation. May the story of Samson remind you that you are never alone in your struggles, that your life has purpose, and that even in your weakest moments, you are held by a love that never lets go. Let us walk forward together, slowly and thoughtfully, carrying the light of faith into the world, one step at a time.